Hello, gentle listener, and welcome to Nocturnal Transmissions, the fortnightly podcast that brings you dark tales, both old and new, performed by your humble narrator, Kristin Holland. First of all, thank you to all the magnificent supporters of our humble production who heeded the call and rated and reviewed Nocturnal Transmissions on their podcast apps, as we so shamelessly implored you to do last episode. Some of you have said some extremely lovely things about the show, and I must admit you hit us right in the feels, as they say. Thank you for helping us hopefully reach an even bigger audience, and thank you also for making us feel good about what we're doing here. Oh, if I go on, I'm sure to become insufferably maudlin, and so let's just conclude this with a thank you. Thank you, gentle listener. Now, we've banged on in the past about how much we love receiving story suggestions, particularly when they present our humble narrator with a challenge or a piece of content that we would not have considered without your prompting. This episode's morsel of mayhem certainly ticks both of those boxes. Our beloved Patreon acolyte, Joanne Brooker, threw down this particular gauntlet. By the way, Ms. Brooker is not only an acolyte of Nocturnal Transmissions, she is also a talented visual artist. If you'd like to feast your eyes on some of her vibrant concoctions, I'm sure she wouldn't mind me directing you to her Instagram page. Joanne_Brooker_artist. Now, to the matter of her story suggestion, she requested The Dance of the Hanged Men by Rimbaud. No, not that one, the other one, the French one, who was less inclined to shoot people. Although he did stab his lover, fellow man of letters Paul Verlaine, who, as a matter of fact, returned the favor on another occasion by shooting Rimbaud, who, not unlike his namesake, proved to be rather hard to kill, and later in life actually became an arms dealer. So it's not like no gunplay was involved, is it, gentle listener? But just to be clear, the Rimbaud responsible for this episode's dark piece of surreal verse did not have any involvement in the Vietnam War, or spend copious amounts of time working out in the gym, sculpting his physique, for that matter. No, our particular young man had other things on his mind, some of which we will now insert into your mind, as Nocturnal Transmissions proudly presents The Dance of the Hanged Men by Arthur Rimbaud. On the black gallows, one-armed friend, the paladins are dancing, the lean, the devil's paladins, the skeletons of Saladins. Sir Beelzebub pulls by the scruff his little black puppets, who grin at the sky, and with a backhander in the head like a kick, makes them dance to an old carol tune. And the puppets, shaken about, entwine their thin arms arms, their breasts pierced with light like black organ pipes, which once gentle ladies pressed to their own, jostled together protractedly in hideous love-making. Hooray, the gay dancers, you whose bellies are gone. You can cut capers on such a long stage. Hop, never mind whether it's fighting or dancing. Beelzebub maddened soars on his fiddles. Oh, the hard heels. No one's pumps are wearing out, and nearly all have taken off their shirts of skin. The rest is not embarrassing, and can be seen without shame. On each skull, the snow places a white hat. The crow acts as a plume for these cracked brains. A scrap of flesh clings to each lean chin. You would say, to see them turning in their dark combats, they were stiff knights clashing pasteboard armors. Hurrah! The wind whistles at the skeleton's grand ball. The black gallows moans like an organ of iron. The wolves howl back from the violet forests, and on the horizon, the sky is hell red. Ho there, shake up those funereal braggarts, craftily telling with their great broken fingers the beads of their loves on their pale vertebrae. Hey, the departed, there is no monastery here. But see how from the middle of this dance of death springs into the red sky a great skeleton, mad, carried away by his own impetus like a rearing horse, and feeling the rope tight again round his neck, clenches his knuckles on his thigh bone with a crack, uttering cries like mocking laughter, and then, like a mountebank into his booth, skips back into the dance to the music of the bones. On the black gallows, one-armed friend, the paladins are dancing, dancing. The lean, the devil's paladins, the skeletons of Saladin. The Dance of the Hanged Men, by that perplexing Parisian poem-producing prodigy, Arthur Rimbaud. Now, I wonder if we should have another round of Nocturnal Transmissions recommends this week. I noted, after casting a sneaky eye over some of the reviews we recently received, that some of you are quite taken with that segment. An indulgence we only allow ourselves from time to time. Perhaps we should do it more often. Tell you what, let's meet our new acolytes and then see how we're doing for time. Rimbaud's dark little poem isn't exactly the rhyme of the ancient mariner, is it, gentle listener? I think we could squeeze it in without overstaying our welcome. So, the latest additions to our Patreon acolyte family number but one, gentle listener, Kenneth Cook. Interestingly enough, we've had quite an influx of Patreon minions of late, but you, Kenneth, float singularly upon that sea of minions, a lonely boat flying the flag of acolytedom. Well, you may be thinking, as did Rimbaud in his poem The Drunken Boat, every moon is atrocious, and every sun bitter. Acrid love has swollen me with intoxicating torpor. Oh, let my keel burst. Oh, let me go into the sea. Or not. I'm not a mind reader, Kenneth. Now, there is another person I'd like to acknowledge while we're on the topic of our beloved patrons, and that is Thomas Arvin. Thomas was one of our very first esteemed cohorts, the highest of ranks amongst our Patreon subscribers. He subsequently shifted into acolytedom, but it would appear that he has just recently returned to the exalted position of cohort. Thank you, Thomas. You have been a long-time supporter of our foolish endeavor, and we appreciate you. Bless your black little heart. All right, I think we're going to do it. I feel another Nocturnal Transmissions recommends coming on. In fact, here we are within it already. Our humble narrator has just recently watched this year's best documentary Oscar-winning film, Summer of Soul. The film about the legendary 1969 Harlem Cultural Festival, which was a glorious celebration of African-American music and culture, featuring astonishing live performances from such luminaries as Stevie Wonder, Nina Simone, Sly and the Family Stone, Mahalia Jackson, B.B. King, The Fifth Dimension, Gladys Knight and the Pips. Oh, the list goes on and on. Over the course of 6 weeks in the summer of 1969, the Harlem Cultural Festival was filmed in Mount Morris Park. This footage, however, was never released, and with time was all but forgotten. Let's not forget that Woodstock occurred in that very same year, and that event, along with its documentary, stole much of the air in the room at that time. Until 50 years later, that is, when Questlove made it his mission to remind the world of the celebration that had been mouldering in film canisters for decades. We are glad he did. This film represents a magnificent moment at a pivotal time in American history, and there is much to be said about the political, cultural, historical impact of this festival, and indeed its omission from the cultural record, as it were. But beyond all of that, the primary thing to take from this film is the music and the sublime musicians who are creating it. If you, like us here at Nocturnal Transmissions, delight in all manifestations of the Terpsichorean muse, thank you for that turn of phrase, Mr. Cleese, although I feel Euterpe, who is in fact the muse of music, certainly deserves some mention at this point. But anyway, then this documentary is for you. Now, our recommendations are usually for dark matter, but I think we can make an exception on this occasion to recommend something light, bright, uplifting, and inspiring for the music lovers amongst our listenership. I mean, Everything Everywhere All at Once is no horror film, is it, gentle listener? But we still felt compelled to bang on about that last episode, so why stand on ceremony? Summer of Soul, or When the Revolution Could Not Be Televised. Nocturnal Transmissions recommends it. You know, we really should put together a list of all the things we've recommended to you in our Nocturnal Transmissions Recommend segments. There's a few now. I tell you what, leave it with us. Perhaps we'll pop a new section on the website for those who wish to check off our recommendations. Yes, that's not a bad idea. I'll have someone get onto it. But for now, it's time to say goodbye. This episode was brought to you with the generous assistance of our Patreon subscribers. A particular thank you goes out to our esteemed cohorts: Daniel Clanton, Philip Abruzese, Sam Hankins, Evan Dooley, Hisu, Tippy Polo, Joe Stinson, Wayne Prince, Abaddon, Arnie Frank, JB, Adam, Rachel Brown, Alex Brewis, Robert Troy Hampton Peterson, Alicia Townsend, Evan Dooley, Sam Bell, and Thomas Arvin. All non-public domain stories are featured with the permission of the authors. All voices and production are concocted by Kristin Holland. Until next time, as always, watch the skies, fear the dark, and don't trust anyone, especially yourself. Good night, gentle listener.